What a difference a week makes. A week we were sat here, Mr. J. Daly. One of the darkest days in the United Stand fan forum, whatever it's called. And we had to pick over the bones of a humiliating defeat to our arch rivals, Liverpool. We move forward a week. That's all we can do at the minute is take it game by game. And Manchester United, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has changed the system today. I think he's reacted to certain situations. He's made substitutions. And Manchester United, I would say, convincingly win 3-0. You can't lay any of the blame at the door of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, whether you are Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in or out. I think this is a game that you kick back and you have to enjoy because, and we'll go to you straight away, Jay, I would say, what did you make of that today? Are you happy or are fans getting overexcited? Are you going to be one of them that's going to shoot me right down?
I think you know the answer to that.
Yeah. Come on, I'm ready for it, mate.
Kevin, first of all, I'm wearing black. And I'm wearing black until that clown is out of the club. I'm not going to wear another jersey on a show until that clown is gone. End of story. That's the first point I'm going to make. Secondly, yeah, a week is a long time in politics, but it's not a long time in sport. A 3-0 victory today against a very, very poor Spurs side doesn't paper over the 5 gaping cracks that happened last week at Old Trafford. Not a chance, mate. And I've already seen on my Twitter feed people espousing the virtues of Solskjaer, blah, 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 blah. Look, everyone has their opinion. Fair enough. But we still have to go to Italy this week, play City the weekend. That result today is against Spurs. And as Roy Keane said in his autobiography, his team talk in Spurs was very simple. Lads, it's fucking Spurs. Secondly, Roy Keane said there on his post-match, and I quote him directly, he said, Spurs almost had a soft underbelly. They almost conceded goals. Our goals today were excellent, but I don't see an Atalanta or Man City leaking goals with Spurs like today. And finally, before Beth and Alex come on, look, you're probably going to have a completely alternative viewpoint than me, and that's okay. But not Solskjaer. The only way my viewpoint of Solskjaer is going to change is if he delivers a trophy come May. But he's not going to be here come Christmas to deliver a trophy. That's my take on it.
Loving the positivity, Jay. Really good intake.
As always, sir. As always.
The Roy Keane of the United Stand, it just shoots me down in flames. I'm trying to have a great old Saturday night here thinking United have won 3-0. They've not ruined my weekend. I can watch Match of the Day tonight. And then Jay just puts a different spin on it altogether. And it's all doom and gloom. We've got Alex, Birmingham's #1 Eddie Cavani lookalike. And that is something we will touch on as well in a bit. I'm sure you will sum it up in this anyway, Alex, just how good Edison Cavani is in that starting 11 to get him in with Ronaldo. The pressing starts from the front for me and it sets the tone for the team. Different class today, but overall, your thoughts, mate. The floor is yours.
Well, overall, I'll start with saying I still do think we need a new manager. So before anyone comes on saying anything I say, like that I still think we should keep Solskjaer. But I don't think unless we get smashed by Atalanta, get smashed by City, I don't think he's going anywhere anytime soon. Personally, just because of the track record of how long the club normally takes to sack managers. So I'm just going to put that to one side and speak as if that's irrelevant with the manager. So with Ole actually changing it up today, I feel like we've said in the past about just, or I've said rather about getting Ronaldo and Cavani into the same team, because I just feel like Cavani, I said at the time, Cavani is just way too good to sit on the bench. And I feel like Ronaldo on his own in that 4-2-3-1, it wasn't working that well. He was scoring the goals, but there's more to the play than just the scoring the goals. But I thought them two today, their link-up play was absolutely brilliant. It's what I wanted to see. I don't think it'll work against every single team, because I feel like against a team like Man City, maybe we'd need to have like a Rashford there instead of one of them two to get him behind. But in terms of like how he played today, it was just brilliant. And that link up, that was the first time really they played in that role, and I thought they linked up absolutely brilliant. And you can say, okay, which is one massive caveat, is that Spurs are absolutely terrible. And it was like going into this game, it was we'd kept like one clean sheet in the last 20, but Spurs, I wasn't too massively worried about them coming on to attack us, because they showed before the game, I think they're like 18th for goals scored or something in the league. So it was like, I tweeted before the game, it's like whatever the opposite to the unstoppable force versus the immovable object is. Like, they can't score, we can't keep a clean sheet. So you had that up in the air. So we were talking briefly before we went off the air. I feel like now, if we stick to that formation and hit teams on the counter, like with how Ole actually was good in the past, then we can actually get some joy against Atalanta and City. I know Jay disagrees with that, but I personally think like all Ole's best results in the past have been like that. But then I feel like it could all be undone if we then just go back to a 4-2-3-1 and then we start playing awful again. But one small thing I would change, but it's kind of an irrelevant point because it won't change, is that I would have had like a better passer in the midfield if we played this formation. Because I think McTominay played well today, and Fred, okay, he gave the ball away a few times, but by his quite low standards recently, I don't think he was too terrible either. But I just feel like in an ideal world, you could Matic, Van de Beek or something like that, so that we have better passing to get it to the likes of Bruno and the likes of Ronaldo and Cavani, because I feel like some teams will figure it out to just mark Bruno and then you cut off all the creativity.
I think it was a massive game for trialing this three at the back, Jay. I'm going to ask you your thoughts on that, because for me, I'm not a massive fan of it. If you can get the system right, then it obviously the proof is in the pudding. When you look at the likes of Conte, who's used it in a system that's been very, very successful, but at the same time, you need the players that fit that system. What I look at Manchester United this evening, it was almost like a bit of an audition, bit of a training session for the game on Saturday, where he's thinking, if we can get through the Spurs game, and like Alex touched on, it's Spurs, they're Spursy, they're all, no backbone to them. Manchester City, again, is going to be just a different animal altogether when we face them on Saturday. So do you think that Solskjaer's kind of used this game to think, right, we throw Varane in, who I thought did ridiculously well today, considering he's been out. When we look at Harry Maguire, was thrown in against Leicester, absolutely thrown to the Foxes. I was going to say the Wolves, but it was the Foxes. Was thrown in there and absolutely ripped apart, which I slated Solskjaer for. I said that he shouldn't have played him, obviously not fully fit. But looking forward, Jay, three at the back, is it something that you would look at and go, well, yeah, if the system works? Because my sort of qualms about it are, I think you need a left back and a right back that give you that width. And I think Wan-Bissaka today, there would have been a question mark over him against better teams trying to get forward. But what are your thoughts, mate?
Yeah, listen, it's great points there made by both of you. Spurs was the perfect dress rehearsal today to trial a 3-5-2. As a football tactic, I'm certainly not adverse to it. But the crucible of that 3-5-2 today, for me, was Varane. Because I tweeted out at the start of the game, I've got no problem with 3-5-2, because now you've got Varane holding Harry Maguire and Lindelof's hands. And the camera a couple of times panned to Varane, and he was screaming at Maguire and Lindelof and literally telling them where to go. So the 3-5-2 with a world-class elite centre-back, Varane, I'm not averse to it. To your point, Kevin, absolutely. You're playing the 3-5-2. Where does Wan-Bissaka and on recent form, Luke Shaw, where does he fit in? You've got Cavani and Ronaldo up top, two of the greatest headers of the ball currently in world football. So then you need your wing backs to play them crosses. So surely one of Alex Telles or Delo is worth a look at, I would think. And then they also said in a 3-5-2, you do not play hopes and prayers, aka Bet Smack Fred, my Mac shite in midfield. You've got to have a baller in midfield. And I would definitely start Matic in that midfield with a Donny van de Beek. But we know, guys, we're not going to see it. But a Donny van de Beek, a Matic, and a Bruno in that midfield with Cavani and Ronaldo up top, for me, that would be the perfect 3-5-2. But Solskjaer is too risk adverse to play those three in the middle of the park. He's going to persist with the aforementioned Mac Shite. And Fred again today, guys. he was dispossessed. He was literally, it was like being dispossessed, how a bold child, you take a lollipop off them because they're insolent. That's the main time we lost the ball today. And I thought as well that Nuno played into our hands in 53rd minute when he took off Lucas Moura and brought on Bergwijn. For me, that was tipping point in the game. Then you could see the players, the Spurs players, looking at each other singing, hang on, what the hell is he doing? Moura was actually having a decent game. On comes Bergwijn. Bergwijn, I looked at the stats, has scored 1 goal in 51, and Nuno brings him on. So I think Nuno is looking for a new job tomorrow morning, because Dan Levy, unlike Ed Woodward, he won't piss about. Levy would sack, I think, Nuno after this performance. And in the first half, I know on paper it's a 3-5-2, but a lot of time it looked like a 7-1-2. It looked like a back seven, because we were tucked in really tight. And I get the point. Solskjaer was shit scared of conceding an early goal and having to chase the game. And up against Song and Kane, maybe I can see why it became a back seven. But to Alex's point, a better team like Atalanta, a Man City, a Chelsea, they would rip United apart with a 3-5-2 if Solskjaer plays the same players he played today in that formation.
And that was always the fear when we spoke about defeat to Liverpool, when I said I could not believe that he starts the same game against Atalanta where he falls behind. Let's start him against Liverpool, because the theory in that is if you play the same team against a better team and you fall behind against a better team, it's not sustainable and you are not coming back from it. I just want to check. We have got Beth. Can you hear us loud and clear?
I can. I think my Wi-Fi was just really bad because I've got quite a few people in the house, because obviously it's like Halloween and stuff. So my Wi-Fi has just been going crazy, but it's fine. Oh,
sounds. So basically you're having a party that we weren't invited to, but it's all right, we crack on.
I'm not having the party.
Oh,
I'm not having the party.
Fair enough, we'll let you off. Spurs 0, Manchester United 3. Let's just hear what you've got to say on that. I mean, you probably missed a bit of it. Jay's gone in a bit more or less down the Roy Keane route of it's only Spurs, and a better team. We've got obviously Atalanta and Manchester City coming up, bigger games ahead. But thoughts on the game, the way it went, and we were discussing 3 at the back, which in theory is 5 when it falls back. And moving forward, do you think that's something that Manchester United are looking to maybe implement in the game against Manchester City? So obviously, first of all, thoughts on the game? Are you buzzing? What?
I'm happy we got the win, obviously, because of our form in the league has been absolutely horrible. And to get the 3 points is a good start. I know it's been bad, and I still agree with Jay. Against a better team, we would have definitely got punished a lot more. But you can only beat the team what's in front of you, and we managed to do that well. And I will give Ollie credit, that formation did work. Is it good for the long run? Absolutely not. Will we play it against City? I 100% think we will, just because of the way it paid off today. But I think you saw today certain players that really are working for the team, really are working for Solskjaer. And I think it shows that Ollie does have trust in certain players over others. And the fact that he changed it does reek a little bit of desperation, but he went and got the job done. Spurs, I did not think they were good today. I don't think they've been good all season. So you can't really measure it up too much compared to what, for say, playing against Liverpool. But it was a good performance. There was 3 goals and we didn't concede. And to not concede after the amount of goals that we have been conceding is a very good start. Hopefully he can turn it around. Like, do I think he's the right guy for the job? No, but I want Manchester United to win every game that's coming up. So hopefully we just keep winning. And that's all you can say going into the next game against Atalanta. I don't think it's the biggest test to see where we're at. I think the City game is where we'll see where we're at. And now that City have lost today as well, I mean, it doesn't make it any better. Our form's still not acceptable, but that's going to be a big 3 points for us if we can get the win at City. And what I did like about this formation, I would never want to stick with it, but what I did like is that the fullbacks got a lot more time on the ball. They were getting higher up the pitch, and I do think it helped the attackers out massively. Do I think they'll get the same amount of time on the ball if we were against City? Absolutely not. I do think Spurs weren't playing well at all. I don't think they were closing down as much as other teams would do, but it was nice to see the fullbacks getting up the pitch and getting some crosses in as well.
Alex, the song does go, give it to Eddie Cavani, pass him the ball and watch him score all the goals. And that's exactly what happened this evening. I am an advocate for this man. I love him. Not in that way, but you know what I mean. He's a fantastic footballer. He's listen, what is he, 36 years old? But he doesn't really come into it. 34? Oh, that's even better. So we get a few more years out of him. But listen, he is absolutely fantastic. And I said before the game today, just sent a tweet out saying Ronaldo and Cavani starting. I think it's what a lot of Manchester United fans will want to see. And you get a few tweets back then. Well, what are we going to do? Is it going to be long balls up to them? Is it that? So I'm trying to explain my thought on it. The excitement of it is the fact that Cavani is the man that leads this attack from the front. Not Ronaldo for me, Cavani. The pressing game starts from Cavani and that feeds through to everyone. And you had Cavani at stages today, turning around to Ronaldo. There'll be some people saying the goddamn cheek of this man turning around to Ronaldo and telling him to get out there. But
to be fair, I think Cavani is a big enough name in world football that he's actually one of the few players on our team that can actually do that to Ronaldo.
Yeah. Well, no one's going to argue with him, are they? Mm-hmm. And I thought it was a fantastic performance. Absolutely well-deserved that goal this evening, Cavani. Yeah. And again, it's that tenacious play up front. And the great Manchester United team of Tevez, Ronaldo, Rooney, they integrated, swapped around. You know, they changed it up, didn't they, Alex? But what were your thoughts on Cavani today? Am I over getting a bit too excited on this?
No. I love Cavani as a player, and like I've said before, I feel like he's way too good to be on our bench. The only worry is with the personnel we have, like they say with the 3-5-2, is I think is the best way to get them to both playing together. I mean, theoretically, could you maybe put Ronaldo on the wing, but then he doesn't really have the legs to really play that position, in my opinion, anymore. But I mean, you don't know. But with like in terms of like the formations and stuff, I feel like with Ole, we need to just stick with this formation. If we were to get someone else, and then try 4-3-3 or something like that. But with Ole, I would stick with this formation. And then, like they were saying before, that Ronaldo and needed someone to play off him, and I thought him and Cavani linked up so well. You say that Ronaldo doesn't really do the pressing, but Cavani is just so good at it, and I was so happy that he scored today as well, because I've been kind of worried of like people saying like, okay, yeah, you're always saying Cavani to start, but he hasn't scored all season, but which we saw at the tail end of last season, he was scoring like nearly every game, so we know he has it in him even at this age. But it was really good to see him on the score sheet, because he has come close a few times this season. But yeah, I am really interested to see if we stick with them two as a partnership, because I thought they linked up really well.
Jay, I know you're a massive fan of Eddie Cavani as well. I'd be interested to hear what you have to say on that performance this evening, mate. Yeah,
look, I made no secret last season of my admiration for Cavani. He's a player that I always wanted at the club, and when he was signed, I was thinking maybe it's a few years too late. But Cavani has proved that I was wrong. Cavani has aged like a fine wine. Same as myself, to be fair. So Cavani's goal today, guys. When you watch the replay tonight, if you watch, he ran from the halfway line to get into the box for that goal, because he's back pressing the fullback. And as you rightly pointed out, Kevin, your press starts from the front. And I did pick up on during that game, he is having a go at Ronaldo, and Cavani's one of the few players in a squad that Ronaldo would actually have some respect for what they've achieved in the game. And back in, obviously, in 08, like Ronaldo, let's be fair, we all know he never really pressed. It was Kevin's, like Rooney, to be fair, a massive Rooney fan. He sacrificed last couple of years of his career at United to do all the donkey work and running for Ronaldo. And hence why Ronaldo had those phenomenal seasons in 07, 08. To be fair to Rooney, he did that because he put the good of the club ahead of his own personal accolades. My fear is that when Solskjaer reverts back to Rashford and to Mason, will they put their own personal goals, their own personal accolades, and their own personal egos aside for the good of the club and do the donkey work and track back? Time will tell. But from what I've seen thus far this season, no, they don't do that. Hence why Ronaldo is isolated up top. And today, and I know, Alex, you were calling for it, we were all calling for it, just start Cavani and Ronaldo up top, because you'll see a better Ronaldo. Because let's be fair, if you're a centre-back and you've got Cavani nipping at your heels every 20 seconds, the time and space then that Ronaldo has to exploit, it's a no-brainer. Let's be fair, it's not rocket science. None of us here have a UEFA Pro license. We haven't pretended that we have all these coaching qualifications, but we see with our eyes. As long as Cavani is fit, I play him every week, as long as he's fit. But the question now is, does Solskjaer play Ronaldo and Cavani midweek, vis-a-vis play them on Saturday against City? And with City losing 2-0 to Palace, that City game, even getting a point against City, could be the difference between getting top four or not come May. So he's got a real conundrum in his hands for the Champions League game this week for me.
Beth, we're talking about Eddie Cavani. You might as well have your say very quickly. We look at the front three, and you'll know yourself how many shows you've been on with the Godfather Ricky, talking about shoehorning players in and all this. And for me this evening, I don't feel that any of that went on. I think Solskjaer's tried to pick a team that there was some system to it, although a lot of us will look and go, Jesus, again, Fred and McTominay in midfield, but that's where we're at the minute. But it's worked this evening. Did you agree with team selection? When the team actually dropped and you looked at Ronaldo, Cavani, were you looking at it or were you kind of thinking, the balance doesn't look right to this?
I wasn't a massive fan of the back five when I saw it, but to get Ronaldo and Cavani in that team at the moment, with the way that we've been conceding goals, it is the formation you kind of had to go to just to secure a clean sheet as well. And you know what? After watching that performance today, and you could get blinded because Tottenham aren't at the best at the minute, they're just not. But I do agree with Alex. I do think you have to find a way to get Edison Cavani and Ronaldo in that team. I thought they worked extremely well together. I thought the partnership was great. I thought the assist from Ronaldo to Cavani was great. I thought the way they were leading each other, it was because the leadership starts from the front, and they were leading from the front. And I also think it allowed Bruno a lot more space, especially with the back five behind him. I thought the back five actually made McTominay and Fred look a lot better. Like, it actually did really work. Like the midfield, that's the best McTominay and Fred have played all season for me. And it's because they had the back five behind them, and it's because Varane had an extremely good performance. That is exactly why it was. But the only problem for me is we shouldn't have to go to a back five to have these performances. We should be able to do it with a back four and with a midfield two, and be able to play two up front if that's what he wants to do, without having to go to that back five. It's like when Liverpool push their fullbacks up, but they still have a back four. That's what I eventually would like Manchester United to get to the point of doing. I want the fullbacks to be able to get that high up the pitch, but without having to have a back five behind them. So I do think it's slight progress. I think everyone improved today. I thought his team selection was right with the way that we won the game. We won it 3-0. You can't complain. Do I think it was a little bit desperate? Yes. Do I think he was shutting up shop and kind of he strayed way far away from what he wants to do? Because you've got Rashford, Greenwood and Sancho on the bench, 3 young wingers that he wants to use. This is the way he wants to play. This is the way he started with Manchester United. So it's not the way he wants to go forward. But for this game, just to steady the ship and get the 3 points to move forward, I do think it was the right formation. And he's got like a big decision on his hands with Cavani and Ronaldo, because if they play up top together, it's going to keep the wingers out. And that's just the way it is. So it's whether he's going to go with them who have kind of saved his job today and played really well together and shown that they have that work ethic still at that age to do what they could do today, or does he go back to what his plan is for the long term? So it'll be interesting to see what he does.
I think Jay made they were great points as well, Beth, sorry. But I was going to say, just touching back on what Jay said earlier about switching the team up now. When you look to a game against Atalanta, because you sit there on paper today and you look at it and you think, well, no Jadon Sancho, Pogba was suspended, wasn't he? But it's debatable whether, even if he was fit, whether he gets into that team because of the dynamics and what Pogba brings to the team. The Greenwood, Rashford on the bench. And we do hear Manchester United fans, Alex, all the time saying, well, we've got such a great squad. Martial as well. You know, it's like, we've got all these players. How can we fit them into a team? But you'd look at it, wouldn't you, and say, this is where Solskjaer now needs to really, really start getting it right. Other top managers are able to rotate in cup games and other games and get this blend right, where there's players not unhappy and players are involved in the squad. It's a very sort of fine art, isn't it, to get right? But this is where Solskjaer has to do it now, because it's all right picking a system and being happy with that and rolling with it. But we know the likes of Donny van der Beek on the bench, the likes of Paul Pogba, who I still believe will walk away for free again. They're not, if they're not getting in the team, they're not really going to want to be part of this at Manchester United, are they?
Yeah, I feel like with the manager we have, his hands are kind of tied now to this system if we can't keep a clean sheet with the way we were playing, and he clearly doesn't like 4-3-3. So we are going to have to do that. In terms of the personnel we have up front, we do like all of them can play in this system, I think, except it depends. I have read that Sancho can play in behind the strikers, but I've never seen him personally do it, so I don't know how often he did it at Dortmund. But with Rashford, Martial, Greenwood, they can all play striker, and then but then it is two slots with like so much attacking talent. So again, it boils back to the point of like buying when we went top heavy, but we already had a good attack in my opinion. And then you signed Sancho, you signed Ronaldo, and so two more attackers to add with that without selling any of the others. And then you have Lingard coming in, who when he has actually played has actually been decent. So he's been unlucky with chances, and he'll be wanting chances. You have Van der Beek, who could play in that Bruno role as well. So it is difficult, and it is going to be a hard balance, especially if we now play this formation, because you take away one of those attacking spots. I mean, like my ideal formation, I've always said, would be 4-3-3, but I don't think we can play it that well with either the players we have, because Matic is the only one I think can play in that position, and I don't know if he can play week in, week out, and I just don't think Ollie likes that formation. And with the way we've been defending in a back four, I just want us to personally stick to this formation, because I feel like it's even when we've had Varane was absolutely brilliant today, and Varane is, in my opinion, our best centre-back now that we've got him. But we were still conceding with Varane because we were just so open with the midfield, and like the disconnect between the attack, midfield and defence and everything. You say about like pressing from the front and stuff, and we just don't press as a team. Like teams like Liverpool and City, they do actually defend from the front, and we just don't. And then you left the defence completely exposed, and then tied into that with Maguire and Shaw's form this season, it really hasn't helped.
Jay, there is a message here that's just caught my eye from Devils 58 Reds. He said, but Kev, he's bought Sancho and benching him, clueless manager. Is it clueless today for benching Sancho, or would you look at that? And the thing with Jadon Sancho is, and I've been on here many times before, and I've said that money, and this is nothing against Jadon Sancho, could have been better spent this season for something that we actually needed. You know, it is very, very strange. I'm trying to think of a kind of analogy. It's like, I don't know, going out and buying a new TV for your house when you actually need a boiler or something, you know, so that it's... You know, that was just totally off the top of my head. It was probably awful.
It works, though.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
Happy times. Jay, Sancho, is Solskjaer clueless for buying a player that is looking at this moment in time? His career hasn't really taken off, has it? Has he been given much of an opportunity, or is he a player that's going to, you know, hit the ground running once he gets integrated into the team?
I think for Solskjaer buying Sancho, it's like having a car with a flat tire, and he went out and bought the most expensive stereo he could possibly afford and left a flat tire. Boom.
Better than mine, man.
Sorry, as you were saying it, I was thinking of it.
You big show.
Anyway, yeah, look, it's very obvious the gaping hole in that midfield was a CDM. It doesn't take an expert to figure out or not. Even the FIFA kids that I see tweeting all the time about football, think they know the stuff. Even they know that. But yet we got Sancho, and it took 2 years to seal the deal. If he plays 3-5-2 again on Wednesday night, because he won't play against City, there's no question about it. He won't play Sancho. It just won't happen. But then you've got Pogba sitting on the bench. Does Solskjaer have the balls to let Pogba sit on the bench against Atalanta in a must-win away game and play McFred in front of Varane, Maguire, and Lindelof? Does he actually have the balls to do that? Personally, Wednesday night, if he does go with 3-5-2, I drop Fred obviously and put Pogba in there, because he can play obviously against Atalanta. He's banned for the City game. That to me seems to be the obvious one. And where then going forward, even if he persists, he's going to revert back to his tried, tested, and failed 4-2-3-1. But even when he goes back to that he is, guys, you know, Solskjaer always reverts to type. He does. He's proven that as his manager. That's probably the only consistency he's been, is that his type is the 4-2-3-1. So when he reverts back to that formation, it is back to hopes and prayers, middle of the park. We know what that is. And Ronnie up top by himself, Rashford one side, Mason the other. He's going to revert back to that. When he got the job initially, he was playing 4-3-3 with Pogba, Matic, and Ander Herrera in that three. And that three worked long before most fans could even spell Bruno Fernandes. Let's be fair. Most fans back then didn't know who that Bruno Fernandes was. They might claim it did, but they sure as hell didn't. But yet, what did Woodward do? Let Herrera's contract run down and, mess up a negotiation of a couple of quid. We'll lose Herrera. And that's just another point that, and we've always said it, guys, we're not run as a football club. Had we been run as a football club, I said it in my piece yesterday, I understand that Solskjaer would have been sacked out in Poland for capitulation in the Europa League final. And now here we are, guys. A lot of the fan base are back on wearing rose-tinted spectacles. It's back to Ole at the wheel. We've beaten Spurs, blah, 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 and everyone's happy. But Solskjaer will revert back to type. And it's 4-2-3-1. And we're going to be here in a month's time espousing a loss away to Norwich or somebody. Wait and see.
I would say, I did have a question here, Beth. I'm really sorry if it sounds really wrong when I word this one, but Solskjaer, the way it works out tonight, I know we mentioned Sancho not in the bench, and Jay always says about this thing of, do you think that Solskjaer kind of showed that he has big balls by making the big calls this season? I can't believe I just said that.
Big balls, big calls. Get it, guys. Start trending. Big balls, big calls. Love it.
The thing is, what I think it is with Solskjaer is his job was completely on the line, so he didn't have a choice. It wasn't a choice for him. It was either basically, I don't think he would have been sacked straight after the game, but it was a possibility that he could have been. And it's like, what's the best way to try and get a clean sheet? And what have you been doing leaking goals in? He's going to go for a back five. And do you know what? The fact he dropped Rashford for me showed he actually did have big balls today, because he never drops Rashford, and that's when you know it is down to the wire. He did have big balls. Why are you making me say this on it?
Sorry, I'm so sorry.
But yeah, we've seen it before. He's reverted to a back five before. He does it when he wants to save his job. He's done it today. And do you know what? I actually think Solskjaer, I don't think it's not that he's not got balls. I think he's not got balls to drop his favourites at times, which he do. I'm saying balls all the time. Which he did today. In the past, he doesn't care what the fans will tweet out, Donny has to start, stop McFred, stop playing this formation, stop playing these players. And he does it every week. So he's a stubborn manager. And I do think he goes with what he thinks. It's just a lot of the time what he thinks isn't right. And that's the problem with it. It's like when everyone says you should make subs more early. He never does it. And I think that's what he does. He just sticks to type. But today, dropping Rashford, I thought that was a big show to me of how much his job actually was on the line today, the fact he did that. But it's crazy to me that Sancho isn't even, like, the fact that Lingard was off the bench before Sancho, I think is crazy. It's like, you've spent this much money on a player. You was nearly willing to let Jesse Lingard go the start of last year. Wasn't even getting in the team for the Carabao Cup. And now all of a sudden, it seems like Jesse Lingard is in front of Jadon Sancho, which is crazy. Why have you paid all this money? Why have you waited 2 years for this player if you're not going to play him? What is the plan? I don't understand what the plan is, but it's not as if it's just because it's gone to a back five. He's not been playing him for the last few games. So I can't get my head around that one. And if I was Sancho, the amount it must knock your confidence coming to a new club, getting a few minutes and then being completely dropped. I mean, how do you expect someone to pick up form when basically ruining the confidence? And I do feel bad on him, because he got that move and it seems like Ollie just doesn't want to play him.
You can go back five and still have like Sancho and Rashford in the team as well if you go 3-4-3, but then you have the issue of that you'd be dropping Bruno most likely, and Solskjaer's never going to drop Bruno.
And don't you think in theory today, you see three at the back, so when the wing backs drop in, Alex, it drops into a back five, and then really you've got McTominay sat in front of them, so it's kind of like a back seven, isn't it?
Back
really,
seven was trending. It had like 20,000 tweets of back seven before
I didn't even see that. I was actually, I'm kind of thinking it myself, and I'm thinking, has Solskjaer made the big calls? And for me today, it was Cavani and Ronaldo starting. I'm looking in the middle and I'm thinking, right, well, McTominay and Fred, it's his favourites. And then you knew Varane was coming back in. He was going to throw him straight back in when he was fit. So the big call really was changing the system to 3 at the back, going with the wing backs. But I did feel today you do lose that width unless you've got a left and a right back who are bombing up and down. And it is probably a criticism of Wan-Bissaka that he is defensively. And we've seen that tackle he made today. I think it was offside anyway. He didn't know that at the time when he made his last-ditch challenge, wins the ball. Like I say, he doesn't know what's going on there, whether it's offside or not. He still has to make the challenge. But do you feel that this system would hold us back if Wan-Bissaka's on that right-hand side, or is it something he can grow into? Because I believe at Crystal Palace, he started out as a winger, didn't he?
But not. I don't think keepers playing senior football as a winger. I think it was when he was in their youth team, but I'm not 100% sure, but I think so. But yeah,
as an attacking threat, you'd think he might have a bit more about him. Or...
Yeah, you would think like. I feel like today, that he actually didn't play that badly. I thought he was pretty all right today. Like, even going forward, I don't think he was that bad. I feel like he's still young. What is he, like 22, I think? I feel like with the right coaching. But then, again, it would go down to Ollie again. If you were to have, like, a Conte, someone that's used to playing in that system, I do think Wan-Bissaka has the potential that you could coach him to play the position properly. And Luke Shaw, I 100% know that he can, because he was brilliant, like going forward for England at the Euros, and he has been for United as well at the back end of last season. So it is something that can be coached. It's just, again, we just have so many players that the thing that will make him. I do agree with Jay that I don't think it will be in these next 2 games, but I do think he will eventually revert back to type and go back to the 4-2-3-1. But in this formation, the 3-5-2, I don't think the wing backs are as much of an issue, because I feel like they can eventually play there. Okay, they're not as good as like a Reece James or like playing that in Chelsea's formation, but I think that the McTominay and Fred thing, even though I thought that they weren't that bad today, especially McTominay, I feel like with the passing, with their ability on the ball, speaking in general, that it would be better to have a Matic and Van der Beek in there, or I think that Pogba can play. If you have a back 3 behind him, you don't have to worry as much as him getting dispossessed sometimes, where he's like a bit like on the ball, just lacks concentration for a second, then he'll lose the ball. And like, you know how many times that happens in the midfield, he doesn't have to worry as much with the back 3 behind him. So I think Pogba can play in that, but I just don't know if he will. Maybe against Atalanta, because obviously he's played so many games in Serie A and stuff, so he's used to that style of football and all that. But I think against City he'll be dropped, and I think it'll probably be player for player, maybe the exact same team as today, except Rashford instead of Cavani, maybe.
We've got to ask Jay, haven't we, about the big balls question? Surely you've got to have a say on that. Has Ole Gunnar Solskjaer got big balls? Come on.
Far be it from me.
Make the calls. Sorry.
Far be it from me to discuss another man's anatomy live on air, but I've said many times I don't feel Solskjaer has any particular fortitude. Today, his formation and his team selection, it wasn't balls. It was an exercise in self-preservation, plain and simple. Pogba was suspended. He couldn't play. Okay? So if Solskjaer had actual balls today, that midfield would not have been Max Scheidt. It would have been Donny, and it would have been Matic. Now, I know Donny came on for Bruno in the 75th minute, and then obviously Matic got the assist to Rashford later on in the game. But once Bruno came off for Matic, that back 7 then became a back 8. So no, Solskjaer for me does not have big balls. Not a chance.
That sub was ridiculous. I was like, because everyone saw Matic warming up, so you're like, oh, good, it's going to be for Fred. He's on a yellow card.
Yeah,
he's being a bit stupid at times.
You would think.
And then he took Bruno off, and it's like, what?
But that goes back, Alex, to what has Solskjaer learned from previous games? Was it Leipzig away? Fred is on the yellow card, and he didn't take him off.
PSG,
PSG, yeah.
Sorry, PSG away. He's on yellow, and so sorry, at home again. I can't I can't recall. So yeah, so I've said it many times. Like, what does Solskjaer learn from his mistakes? So today, Fred was his normal 5 out of 10. He wasn't costing us goals because we play with a back 7, so he wasn't going to mess up too much. But the obvious substitution for anybody watching with any knowledge of football was Matic for one of Matami or Fred, preferably Fred, but yet off comes Bruno. And if you're Bruno Fernandes today, you're thinking, why am I coming off? I've got Ronaldo's playing fantastic. Cavani's playing fantastic. I can get a goal here. I get another assist here. So Solskjaer doesn't have big balls. I think he has balls out of peanuts.
Tell you one question I will throw into the group. We'll obviously start with Beth because it's her turn to have a say next. There's been a lot said, by the Manchester United fans, and in particular, Roy Keane's gone in very hard on Harry Maguire. And a lot of people question him as a captain, something that our very own Jay Daly has said as well, been highly critical. Beth, would Maguire be your club captain? Is he the man to take you into the trenches and say, I've got this, I'll look after you, I'll take you out to KFC or something? I don't know what I'm saying, but you know what I mean? Would he be the club captain, the man that's going to lead you to success? Your man.
Your mic's cut out.
I'm muted. It would have he wouldn't be my choice as the captain. I'm not going to lie. If I was Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I know the time you appointed him, we didn't have half the players we have in now, but no, he wouldn't be my choice. I do think he is a leader. I do think he is, and I think times where he's needed to show up in certain games, for example, the Europa League final, he scored a great penalty. England final, scored a great penalty. I do think he is a leader on the pitch, but I expect every single Manchester United player to be a leader. Do I think the captaincy weighs him down? Yes, because he plays better for England than Manchester United. And in my head, that can, what correlation does it have? Maybe because he's not got the captaincy for England. I think there's a lot of pressure on him. And I don't think he's got that personality that everyone wants him to have, which is really shouty, which is getting in the ref's face, that is doing that. He has started doing it a lot more, but you can just tell it doesn't really come natural to him. I still think he's a leader, but he's people say, I don't think he's a bad player. I think he's a very good centre-half, but he has been relegated. Is it 3 times or is it maybe 4 times? And he hasn't won anything. There's players in that team that have won things. That, for me, is that elite mentality. It was like the other day at Liverpool game. I said it, and I also noticed Mark said it on his channel, so a few people noticed it. When, I think it was James Milner was down injured, he just wasn't saying anything. He just stood there while Liverpool having a huddle round Klopp. And if to be the captain of Manchester United, you should be telling people constantly. I also think he goes through rough patches of form. He's not always absolutely outstanding, and as a captain, you should always be on form and should be putting in one of the best performances on the pitch every week. So from my standards as a Manchester United captain, he doesn't fit it for me. Would it be harsh to change it at this point? Yeah, I think it would, and it could do more damage than good to his form. So would I keep it? Yes, I would. Should he have ever got the captain's armband, and should it possibly have been changed at the start of a fresh season when Ronaldo was coming in? Maybe it should have, but that's just my take on it. I wouldn't take it off him now because I think it would really damage his form and confidence.
Or playing devil's advocate, you look the other way, I suppose, Alex, and you could say that a change of captain. I know what you're saying, Beth, as well, because it's a bit demoralising if you're the captain to all of a sudden be told you're having it taken off you. But at the same time, you mentioned the Liverpool game, and when you see all them dirty scousers getting into them United players, and you've got, the likes of Bruno Fernandes, who's, 5 foot, nothing, is he? Starting on Virgil van Dijk and actually pushing Virgil van Dijk.
Fred started on Canate. I was like, what are you doing?
And he actually you just see him run in and push Virgil van Dijk to one side. Now, sometimes I just look, and when Fernandes first signed for Manchester United, you had that press from the front. It was infectious. You had all these players that were looking at Fernandes, and we did rely on him probably a bit too much than what we should have. And yeah, I just think you look at Bruno Fernandes. Jay, I'll go back to you. I think, Alex has just dropped out.
Okay.
And I know you're not a massive fan of Harry Maguire. So is this an easy question for you that if you were looking at changing a captain now? Sorry, I'll come back to you in a minute, Alex. Sorry, I'll come back in.
Yeah, Kevin, for me, it's a very rhetorical question. Maguire got the captaincy after just 6 months of the club. For a guy that's been relegated 4 times, had won nothing in his career, no titles, no gravitas, to become captain, again, that's on Solskjaer. And I said many times that Maguire is the manifestation of Solskjaer on the pitch. No balls, no particular fortitude whatsoever. And guys, you've all seen Maguire on interviews. We're all here, I understand. We're looking right into the camera. We're talking to everybody watching as if we are chatting to them on a one-on-one. We're communicating. It's called communication. It's called enunciation, using your voice, engaging. Maguire can't do that. He can't even deliver a post-match interview. So can you just fathom his pre-match team talk and his halftime team talk? Roy Keane, who, guys, I love Roy Keane, for God's sake. He, today in the show, was slagging off Maguire, and he was actually imitating. Do you see that? He was actually imitating Maguire. Be that good, bad, or different, I know the snowflakes watching probably didn't like that. They probably call out Roy Keane and call me out, but that's Roy Keane for you. Look, he's not a leader for me. Varane today came in. I said at the start of the show, he basically talked Maguire and Lindelof through the game. The camera a couple of times spanned to his face expressions, and you see he's up for it. He's there. He's ready to fucking kill. The camera goes to Maguire. He almost looks like he's lost his car keys. He just does not inspire confidence for me. And how many times this season on set pieces is Maguire rooted to the spot? I know we do zone marking. I know we don't go man to man, but surely logic would dictate you're 6'4", 6'5", whatever you are. He should be taking on the biggest aerial threat in the opposition player. He never, ever does. Now, on centre-backs, the leadership, there's a friend of mine, I'm going to give him a shout out now, right? Live on air, right? Former World 50K Walk World Champion, Robert Heffernan, okay? Olympic bronze medalist in London Olympics in the walk. His son is only 16 years of age. He plays centre-back. Last night, he made his debut for Cork City at 16. He's captain of the Under 16 Irish team. The lad is a born leader at 16. I think that should tell you enough here. Maguire's not a leader. Ronaldo's the leader. Cavani's the leader, even though his English may be a bit questionable. Bruno's the leader. Apart from that, guys, I'd ask you right now, I ask the free seats, how many other leaders do we have in the team?
Varane.
That is an interesting one. Get into the comments there, actually. We'll throw that out to the floor and see how many, because we are, well, I've said it myself as well, Alex, we are a team of kind of individuals that are relying on moments of sheer brilliance in games. I'm not just saying that in particular about today, although I think 3 of the goals were fantastic. But if we just touch back on the old captain debate, sorry, Jay, I've not even asked you, so who would be your captain?
I would give it to Bruno.
Yeah.
I would give it to Bruno, personally. Because for me, Bruno Fernandes single-handedly made United relevant again. We got beaten 1-0 to Burnley. McTominay and Pogba were injured, and finally Woodward went along and bought Bruno Fernandes, who he should have bought the previous August, but we all know that story. And from the very first game, he exhibited leadership qualities. So for me, it's Bruno. It's always been Bruno.
Dougie Yoon, I think that is one of the comments says Ronaldo, Bruno, or David De Gea would be my captain. Somebody else arguing, RG Logic says David De Gea is not a leader, which I suppose that's it. It's all about opinions, Alex, isn't it? Listen, what would you say about Harry Maguire? Is he the man that you're sticking with, or if you had a decision to make, let me know who would be your Manchester United captain moving forward. If you want to make changes, big balls, big calls.
I feel like when Ashley Young left, we didn't really have that many options. De Gea is probably who I would have picked at the time. Some other people would say Pogba, but then I obviously understand the reasons why. But De Gea came out that one time and criticised, I think, the tactics or something like that, and then so De Gea got in a lot of trouble. Same things happened with Pogba in the past, so it wasn't realistically ever going to be them. We didn't have the sort of leaders we have now. I feel like Maguire maybe isn't so much of a leader on the pitch, but behind the scenes he must be quite a leader, because not only for United but England have a leadership team or something. It's Harry Kane, Jordan Henderson, and Maguire's on it as well. So he leads back with England as well. So if 2 managers are saying that he is a leader and we don't see what goes on behind the scenes, then he must be doing good behind the scenes.
Alex, Just think of the two managers, Solskjaer
Oh no, I know.
and Southgate. The defense rests.
Yeah, that is true. Like my personal choice, I feel like an easy way out that if you weren't to have like, okay, it maybe still would disrupt the dressing room a bit, but like giving it to Bruno would disrupt the dressing room, I think. But when Ronaldo came in, because he's such a club legend already, then maybe you could have given it to Ronaldo without disrupting it that much. But I think Maguire, like Beth said, is such a confidence player. It seems like we saw with the Mykonos stuff last summer, was it, that his form just absolutely nosedived. But then he picked it up as the season went on, and then he was good for the rest of the season. But it seems to be a thing with his confidence. Like again, like how he's playing at the moment. Like Beth said, of how he plays for England. Like you see him at the Euros. He was a completely different player to how he is now. Because it isn't just his defending. I've noticed recently he hasn't been really taking the ball out from the back, and that's something he always used to do: is take the ball out from our defense and like drive in to create that overload in midfield or in attack. And he's just stopped doing it now. So I don't know if he's like scared or if he's.
Do you think it's a bit of a hangover from the Euros?
It could be because
you look at Luke Shaw. Yeah, I was going to say that.
And not only that, I've heard like Mason Mount hasn't been as good as he's been. I think he's getting more into form now. I can't remember if people said about like Saka, but there's been quite a few England players that have like their form has kind of gone off a cliff. So they could be burnt out because these players play so many games without rest, and when you're in a Euros or a World Cup on top of that, it is quite worrying, and it would make sense for both Maguire and Shaw. But if you look at them, like Maguire got into the Euro team of the tournament, so he's like, people like to make out like he's this awful defender. He's not bad at all.
He's not.
He got into he was literally arguably between him and Bonucci, in my opinion, the best centre back at the tournament. And then Luke Shaw as well was in like the conversation for like one of the players of the tournament as well. He was absolutely brilliant for England. So it is weird how they transform. And I was going to say, but England have 2 really easy games this upcoming international. I was hoping we had someone hard, but to then see if they suddenly both started playing really well, because it wouldn't have surprised me.
And that is the one thing, Beth, isn't it? It's the 80 million or whatever pound fee that Manchester United, and that is not Harry Maguire's fault at the end of the day. That is what Manchester United had to pay Leicester to get him out of Leicester at that time. You know, it's the going rate to bring him into your club, but he's always going to be beaten with that, because it's this kind of childish outlook where you go, well, Virgil van Dijk was this, you're going to have to pay. He's not as good as him, isn't it? And it's tit for tat, really, isn't it? But it's just the going rate at the time if you want him. A bit like Jadon Sancho when Manchester United wanted him. We're not paying 107. We leave it a year. We get him around the 70 million mark. But do you think that's something that's quite unfairly thrown at Harry Maguire, the transfer fee? When you look at it from his point of view, he must be like, well, it's not really my fault. That's completely out of my hands. You know, I've agreed to come to Manchester United, and you know, Solskjaer's given the captain's armband as well, hasn't he? He's not going to turn it down. I
do agree that the transfer fee is out of his hands, but when you are paying £80 million for a centre-back, you expect them to be top quality. So he is going to get criticism, and he would have known that when he went to Manchester United, and you've got to be able to face up to it, because at the end of the day, that transfer that we did, he was £80 million. And when you pay that money for a centre-half, you expect him to be the best of the best. Do I think he's reached his £80 million price tag? No, I don't. Do I think he's a very, very good centre-half and he has a lot of potential? Yeah, he does have very inconsistent patches in his form, which I think is what not ruins him, because I do think he's got a lot more potential than what he's already showing. Even though he is kind of in his late 20s, I still think there's time for him to develop. The thing with Maguire, what would make him a top centre-half if he just was consistent with his form, and he was, say, the way he played for England in the summer, if that's what he was like every single game, he would be worth that money then. He
100%.
would be. But he's not scoring as many headers as he should be for what he's done for England and what he was doing at Leicester. He can be inconsistent, and recently he has not been good. So these dips in form is what brings his price tag down, and he deserves to get criticised for it. You've not got a right to ever not be criticised when you're a Manchester United player. And if you are being inconsistent week in, week out, whether it's hangover from the Euros or whatever, you are going to get criticised. But yeah, it wasn't in his hands, but when you pay that much money for someone, it's going to happen every week. I think if we paid like 50 million for him, no one would really bat an eyelid, but it's because of the amount of money that we paid. Everyone's standards are really, really high, especially when you look at the likes of Van Dijk and Diaz at other clubs. Like, they're your rivals, and their centre halves arguably have been better than Maguire. And you expect, when you're paying the top dollar for him, to be as good as them, if not better.
We will then with another question, then we'll do man of the match quickly. But I will say this to you, Jay, and I'm not being negative here as well. We've won. I'm quite happy. I'd forgotten what it was like to win. So I'm buzzing tonight. Nothing's getting in the way of that. But what I will say is, if Manchester United had been beaten this evening by Tottenham, do you think that Manchester United would have acted this evening and sacked Ole Gunnar Solskjaer? And it doesn't matter whether it was convincing, 3-4, where it was absolutely embarrassing like last week. I'm just talking defeat. Do you think this club would have been big enough? Like we've seen Barcelona with Koeman, they've gone in. Nope, sorry, an ex-club legend that scored a goal in a European Cup final. It's not working out. See you later. Do you think United this evening would have been big enough to make that call on the back of defeat to Spurs?
No, absolutely not, Kevin, for two reasons. Tomorrow is going to be a recovery day for the players, and then Monday they fly to Bergamo. It's been well documented in the media that United had no contingency plan whatsoever for sacking Solskjaer and his backroom team back in August. The contract was given, I would argue, for the wrong reasons. Another contract, Phelan was given the contract, and obviously before the recent turn of events, his backroom staff were on the cusp of also being rewarded with contracts. And for me, in sport and in business, you reward results. You reward winning, not mediocrity. So no, to answer your question, plain and simple, Kevin, I don't believe how we got beaten today that, story breaks overnight, Solskjaer sacked. No, definitely not. Because if it was going to happen, it would have happened last Monday morning after what happened in Old Trafford last week. So we are stuck with this manager at least until the national break, at the very least, for me. Be it good, bad, or indifferent, we get beside the team. We want them to win, irrespective of team selection, tactics, players, whatever. We want them to win. Of course we do. But a move, surely, Kevin, has to be made over the national break. It has to happen. Come on. Otherwise, that squad's going nowhere, Beth.
I was going to throw it out to Beth.
No, I agree with you. I do think a change has to be made, but I don't think it will. I think Ole is going to be absolutely loving it tonight. The fact he's found that system and the way it works and the way they scored 3 goals and kept a clean sheet. And I think he's going to hold on to that system until he gets back on where there's less criticism. He's got a few points. He's held on like he's done last year when he did it when Pochettino rumours were coming out. And I think he's going to stick with that formation. I think we could even possibly beat City with that formation, like we generally could, if players turn up, and if that happens, the rumours start to go away, the club starts to settle down, and the same old cycle happens again. And that's why, if they were going to do it, they needed to do it last week. Yep. And Ole is so lucky he got that game to do. It was literally the last straw, and I think he's going to hold on to this formation. I don't think it's right, but I think he's going to stay in a job. I honestly do.
It's a running trend, Alex, isn't it?
I was saying
sorry, Jay.
It's okay. Go ahead. Go, Alex. Go.
I was saying before we went off the on the air, it's like, I actually can't believe. I thought he was past the point of no return with the Liverpool game.
Coming back, I'm telling you.
And then they gave him these 3 games, and you're like, surely he's not going to. And then game 1 out of 3, he's already won 3-0. If we beat Atalanta, as long as he doesn't get embarrassed by City, I think he's safe for quite a while until like the next job. And I actually think we'll beat City as well, because with the way that he's set up, like I said earlier in the show, all these best results has always come when he's been playing on the counter. And how many times we beat City like playing like that? And they said during the game that the last time we played this formation was when we beat City at 2-0 at Old Trafford, with that McTominay goal in like the last minute. That was free at the back as well. So I think he's seen that now. And then he'll probably go with it. But it's just against then playing this formation when we come against the teams that we can't counter might be where he comes unstuck again.
No, he's definitely not the one. And it's definitely the wrong way to go about it. And it's so annoying because this cycle starts again. But I just think that's what's going to happen.
He does. And that is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. He comes under severe pressure. He's literally hanging on by his fingernails. And he pulls out this couple of results. Then the Glazers go and sell £100 million worth of dividends. They pocket that. And it's just the cycle that keeps on happening.
It's like the fourth time.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Mental.
Absolutely crazy. But listen, we have come to the end of the show. I'm going to ask you very, very quickly. We'll go round. You don't have to elaborate too much, but we'll go for a man of the match today. I'll ask you, Jay, first.
It's got to be Bruno Fernandes to me today.
I know Scott McTominay then. The way you've...
I know we only beat a team that are managed by a guy. I think he was our 149 choice manager. He'd be going to be sacked in the morning. But for me today, it was Bruno Fernandes for me today.
Good call, Beth. What you thinking?
I thought Ronaldo for me, that goal to set us off was absolutely incredible, and I thought his assist to Cavani was great. But there was a few contenders. Bruno was in there as well.
Yeah, I was going to say Ronaldo with an honourable mention to Bruno, but like Beth said, I think there was quite a few players. I kind of disagree with what you guys were saying about Wan-Bissaka earlier. I thought Wan-Bissaka had a good game and McTominay had a good game. Yeah. So Wan-Bissaka and McTominay were up there, but yeah, Ronaldo first and Bruno second for me.
Yeah, fair play. Well, listen, it's been a great show. We get to watch match of the day this evening. Manchester United have won, and we've forgotten what that feels like. We will be back with a fan forum after the Atalanta game this week, and then we'll also be looking ahead to the big one. Yes, Manchester City at the weekend. Whether you can put yourself through, well, we will put ourselves through it. Of course we will, because we're Manchester United fans. But thank you very much to Jay, Beth and Alex. Beth, you can get back to your party now, or whatever you're up to. You've been watching the biggest Man United fan channel in the land. This is the United Stand. Good evening.
Bye, guys.